Yes, sir. Yes, sir. You
Wow.
better believe it is Tuesday evening, and you got to believe we got a great show for you today.
That
This
we
is
do.
episode 50, if you can believe it, of the
Year
Overtime
anniversary, too.
Show. 1 year anniversary, almost to the day we've been doing this thing. Can't believe it's been that long, but it's been an awesome ride. A little change up for you today. Some Timmy Trumpet. We got some playoff baseball. We got some college football, and we got some NFL. Action-packed show. We'll be here for the next hour or so. My name is Greg Gross, and my co-host for the last year, and hopefully many more to come, Dan O'Brien. What's up, Danny boy?
Oh, not a whole lot. Not a whole lot, man. Just living the dream. You know, that entry you did, it's super cool watching on TV. Just imagine being there in person. I saw it live and in color about 2 years ago. It was super cool. That place gets rocking when those trumpets come out. So really cool entry. I'd probably say top 5. Obviously, number 1 is going to be Enter Sandman when boy Mariano comes out. I mean, that's it's pretty sick, pretty crazy. And yeah, a little bit of I just went on a baseball trip this past weekend, and I was actually in Cleveland, and I saw the actual writing of Enter Sandman. They had the notes, and I took a picture of it. So had to get a little homage to my boy Mariano, to my Yankees. So yeah,
awesome,
doing good. How about you? You doing good?
Doing good. I mean, like I said, I'm watching the Mets. I thought the game was going to be over by now, but man, I love doing the show in the evenings because we get a lot of baseball. We get some hockey and basketball every once in a while. You know, we don't get football on Tuesdays, but we've done the show on some random days every once in a while to make our schedules work. And we get live sports when we do this show, so that's a bonus and a perk of doing it. You know, in the evening. So watching the Mets 8-4 right now, things are looking good. They got a couple guys up right now, top of the 9th, but everything is gravy so far. But, you know, 50 shows and counting, you have not disappointed one single time. I think you told me you got a couple good hats, and I get to guess which one you're going to unveil today based on your recent trip.
Yep.
I don't know if your shirt color coordinates, but that kind of looks like the Guardians colors, I guess. And that would be my guess because – for you as a Yanks fan, I think it would be pretty bad juju to do a Yankee and a Guardians Indians reveal later on because you guys could very well be playing them. So I would get your Guardians thing out of the way now. So that's my guess.
Well, you knocked it out of the park as per usual. So you want to do the hat first, or do you want to do the giveaway that I got at the game first?
Let's do the hat. The giveaway sounds pretty cool. I mean, you already know what it is, but let's do that after.
Real quick. Hold on 1 second.
Nice. Good stuff.
So this is a City Connect hat. I know that we talked about it. It's one of my first ever City Connect hats that I bought. A little more expensive, but pretty cool. You can see in the middle, the start of the middle, it's got the C. And what that represents is it's a diamond, a new diamond C. It connects the present and the past of franchise history. And I'm going to show you something on the inside too. So hold on 1 second.
That's pretty cool. I like that.
So if you see the outlining, it's going to go above around the socks and the jerseys and the pants. And then right here, it's got a design. I don't know if you can see it, but there's a little design underneath it.
Yep.
So like I said, it was a pretty cool City Connect jersey. Pretty cool City Connect hat. And I went there on Friday, and they actually wore their uniforms on Friday. So I was able to see this hat, their uniforms in color. So
I like that. That's a classy hat. It's very clean, like easy colors. The designs on the inside look pretty intricate. I like that.
So another cool thing they did for me is they were giving out a Jose Ramirez bobblehead with the City Connect jersey, with the City Connect hat. So I'm going to go ahead, and it says Clee on it. So I'm going to go ahead and open it for the first time for you and for all of our fans. I've never seen this yet. So if I can get this open, I'll go ahead and show you. It looks pretty cool from the outside. So you can
see. Did you guys get there early? I'm assuming it was like limited 10,000 fans or something.
Yep. So if you look right here, it's Jose Ramirez, and he's got his bobblehead, got the same hat, and he's got the City Connect jersey with the Clee on it.
Yeah.
And Jose Ramirez, he had a hell of a year again. He's their best player.
It's hard to see. Does he not have a bat in his hand?
He does. The bat is right here. I got to kind of put it together. So
Very
But
cool.
yeah. So
Nice.
figured I would show that on the show, and we're gonna put it
Yeah.
aside. Yeah. So pretty cool stuff.
Yeah, awesome, awesome. I like the hat. It's cool that you got the bobblehead. You might have to do the Boomer Esiason, and maybe put the bobblehead in the freezer, like he does with the jerseys, the Rangers jerseys, and whoever they're playing in the postseason. I think Ramirez might need to spend some time in the freezer if you guys meet up.
Oh, he will. He will. He's going to be frozen. Yeah, he won't be
Yeah,
able to move his neck, so he'll be frozen. So I'm not worried
yeah,
about
yeah. He had
him.
bobble in his head, no doubt.
Yep. So,
So tell me a little bit about the travels. I'm interested to hear. We didn't really talk, you and I, too much. We saved some of it for the show. How was the Cleveland experience?
so you want the good or the bad first?
Give me the bad. Give me
All
the
right.
bad.
All right. So you know me, and you and me, we do spring training every year. So we like to go on tick picks, so we like to go to the box office. We like to go buy tickets, and we don't want to pay the astronomical fees. So,
Mm-hmm.
for example, Cleveland, when we go up there on Friday, it's not the best day. A little bit of rainy. They had some of the bands from Helene that hit us this past week and hit you guys.
Yep.
And we're about to go get tickets, and Cleveland stopped. They don't have a box office anymore. So you have to buy everything at the stadium on your MLB.com ballpark app, which is no big deal, right? You think you're going to get your tickets there, get them there. However, you go get tickets and you have to pay $16 in fees on top of the tickets. So instead of getting $27 tickets in the outfield, you're getting $40 tickets times 3 because me and my parents went. So $130 tickets for 3 tickets instead of $130 tickets for $80 or not even $70, $73. So, besides that, I mean, it was very, very frustrating because obviously you don't like paying fees. I mean, fees are nothing. Fees are just a fee out there that goes away. And it's just very frustrating because we're already traveling. We're at the stadium. The stadium's right across the street, and we still got to pay $16 fees.
Yeah.
So just very, very frustrating.
It is. I mean, they're just pushing everything digital nowadays.
Yep.
You got to download the app, and it's just a way. I hate to say it because I'm not a conspiracy theorist guy, but it's just another way for them to track what you're doing, incentivize you to spend more money or whatever. It's just,
Which is fine too, but don't charge fees when you're at the stadium. And then some jackrabbit was like, "Oh, well, that's the same kind of fees that you pay when you get the printing fee," which is not correct. You don't pay fees when you get at the box office. Everybody knows that.
Right.
So, talked to a friend of the show, Chris Dolan. He said that the Panthers are thinking about trying to do that, but they're going to be like an Apple shop or like a Best Buy where you go in and you can pick your seats. And I don't think there'll be as many fees, but I hope it's not the way of the future because the fees are frustrating, especially when you're right there. Not to repeat myself. I mean, you pay fees to StubHub, you pay fees to SeatGeek, you pay fees to Game Time. You don't pay fees to MLB. The stadium. So
agreed. I mean, because it all started out honestly when the internet was new. Think late 90s, early 2000s, and e-commerce became a thing when people started shopping online. It was a convenience fee, but it's not convenient when you are already doing the convenience for yourself being at the stadium, like you said.
Exactly.
So, yeah,
that was a negative. And
happened, I thought you were going to say plane got delayed or fight at the stadium or something that.
So, and then also we had to leave a little early because it was pouring. So we left in the 6th inning. I mean, it's a little bit of an older stadium. So I believe it was built in 1996. It started up as Jacobs Field, and now it's called Progressive Field. So it was a decent stadium. The cool part was behind us. It's got one of the largest scoreboards in MLB. So we were able to see a pretty cool scoreboard, and they have a lot of areas you could walk around, which was kind of cool. And it's in a really good location because it's right next to where the Cavaliers play, the basketball team. And it's about not even a mile, probably a quarter of a mile to a place called East 4th Street, which is a bunch of place that has a bunch of bars and a bunch of restaurants. So it's pretty centrally located, but yeah, it was a pretty nice stadium. But like I said, I just wanted to put them on blast about the fees because the fees are just very, very frustrating.
Yeah, I get that. So, hey, like I said, if that was the worst thing, though, I get it. It's that kind of sucks. But tell me about the good. How was the stadium itself? Hopefully, the fans were pretty cool and nobody was talking trash. I mean, I don't know what you were wearing. Were you wearing Yanks gear at all or no?
No, actually, my dad was wearing a Yankees hat, and guys come up to him and said, "What's the crap on your hat?" So that was kind of funny. And
Real original.
of course, they looked at him, then they looked at me, and I was giving him a nice little mean mug, and they're like, "I'm just joking around. I'm just joking around." So
Yeah.
it was, but no, the stadium was fun. Like I was saying, it was a pretty cool place. You could do a lot of walking. You could walk around the stadium. They had some pavilions where you could walk up, and they actually had they called it a bar area where you could just go up there and sit on like a ledge and watch the game right down third base line, which was pretty cool.
Okay.
If you didn't really care about seating, you could get that and get some decent seats, but again, it was a pretty cool stadium. The scoreboard was cool. Besides the rain and the fees, I mean, it was a pretty decent stadium. Like I said, they probably could do some updating here and there because it's almost a 30-year-old stadium. So
right, yeah, that's cool. You did the 999 challenge, huh? And you kind of killed it, I think, record-setting pace.
Not there. That's going to be for another week. That's going to be another week, another day.
Do all the stadiums? I mean, I guess it's just a challenge for yourself. They don't give you like deals or something like on the food or anything like that. It's just a challenge within yourself, right?
I mean, there's I was going to leave that for next week on the Pittsburgh Stadium, but when I went to Pittsburgh, we'll talk about it next week, but they had dollar dog night, so that was pretty enticing.
Yeah.
But
awesome. Not to interrupt this programming, but it just became final. 8-4 win on the road. Mets take game 1.
Nice.
LGFM. Yep.
Let's go.
Love it.
And for our PG people, that means that's the freaking Mets.
Yeah, exactly. Or OMG Mets and whatever they're saying. So, we'd probably be. I'm glad you had a good time and look forward to hearing more about your part 2 of the venture next week. Before we get into some more stuff, I think we'd be remiss if we didn't talk about. I think it happened yesterday, and that's Pete Rose passing away. Baseball legend. One of the best to ever play. I mean, he's still the all-time hits leader. Probably not something that's going to be broken, I don't think, in our lifetime. You never know. I mean, there's a lot of great athletes, but he's had it for a while. Say what you want about the guy and what happened. We don't need to probably dig that stuff up maybe for another day. But the baseball world lost a legend last week. So rip to Charlie Hustle. He was a good one.
Yeah, I mean, it was crazy. I was going to pull up some of his stats and kind of show how close how far ahead he was on hits. So about 100 more hits than Ty Cobb. He had 42.56. Ty Cobb had 41.89. Number 3 was Hank Aaron with 3,700, and number 4 was 3,600 with Stan Musial. So almost 800 more hits between 4th and 1st place, which was pretty incredible. I mean, he did some shady stuff like you were saying, but I mean, nowadays everybody is in bed with gambling. So it's like, why not, let bygones be bygones? And I mean, I think you should have deserved to be in the hall, 10 years ago, 15 years ago, when everything when all this betting became, kind of with sports. But that's here nor there. Just very frustrating because he deserved to be in there. And I think, unfortunately, now he's going to get a posthumous or whatever you say that word, posthumously.
I don't know. To be honest, I mean, part of me hopes that they don't do it because I almost feel that that's even more disrespect to the guy to put him in after, because you could tell it meant a lot to him. I started a documentary. I want to say it was HBO. I think it was called Charlie Hustle or something to that effect. And it was about Rose, and he was doing all these candid interviews. And you could tell he was pretty upset and annoyed. In a lot of ways, he seemed to acknowledge what he did wrong, but he felt like he paid his dues, almost like someone who commits a crime or something like that, unless it's murder, you probably don't lock the person up forever. Then you serve your time, whether it's 10, 20 years and, that kind of thing. And then you pay your dues and it should be over. And I think that's how Rose felt. And, it is a shame, but, to induct the guy after that, I don't know. I feel like that's almost even more disrespect, but like I said, the guy was a legend in the baseball world, lost a good guy.
Yeah. And then we also lost Dikembe Mutombo yesterday as well. I don't know if you remember that name, but he was
I did. Yeah. I know that. And another sad one. I mean, he was young, 58 years old and brain cancer, that's a tough way to go. I've known some people in passing that, have suffered from those kinds of things. And I think it's just really, really a a terrible. All forms of cancer are bad, but especially brain cancer. I think it deteriorates rapidly,
Yep.
and that's thoughts and prayers go out to him and his family.
Yeah, it just sucks because I remember growing up, I'd always just be not in here. Remember, he used to do his little finger,
Yeah.
so that was
Mhm.
kind of brought me back to some childhood
Yeah.
playing with friends and blocking somebody and say, "Not in my house." That's what he used
Yeah.
to do. So
Yep. Yeah. Yeah. So, Um, segue, I guess, hopefully into some lighter things, but we'll stay on the baseball train for a little bit. We, a couple games already underway, but we want to get through a couple predictions. I guess we'll go all the way through the World Series and see who
yep,
our winners are and the ultimate champ. I just did mine kind of quickly. I think you got yours too. You want to lead off and go wild card round each, then we'll go to the divisional series, conference championship, and then World Series, which is
yep,
ultimate.
yep, works for me.
All right.
So I'm going to start at the top left on my screen, which is Detroit and Houston. And
Mm-hmm.
actually, before I start, this past trip, I actually saw Houston play Cleveland and I saw Milwaukee play Pittsburgh. So I had a firsthand view of these playoff teams. Not that that makes a difference, but it was kind of cool seeing them because they played last
Yeah.
week and kind of saw them live and in color.
Yep.
So I'm going to start up top. Tigers are up 1-0. I mean, my
Mm-hmm.
heart wants to pull for the Tigers. I called them out earlier in the year. They were going to win. I just think the Houston's got too much talent. Not too much talent, but too much experience. I saw something today that their roster had I don't know, 500 games of postseason, where the Detroit Tiger roster had 12. So
Mm-hmm.
if they can throw Tariq Sobel on 3 days rest, which will be the key for Game 3 because it's a best of 3, I think Detroit will pull it out in Detroit. However, I think Houston's going to win tomorrow. And if they could pull out Tariq on 3 days rest, I'm going to go with the Tigers. And I'm just going to stay with my heart. I'm going to go with the Tigers. I know I started you going with the Astros, but I'm going to go with the Tigers in 3. They're going to win at home on, when day would that be? I guess Thursday. Yeah, Thursday. They'd win at home. Or actually, yeah, they'd win at home. So we'll see what happens because actually they're all at Houston. My bad.
Yeah, I
I
was
thought they
just
had
going
a
to
home
ask
game.
you.
Yeah, my bad. Yeah. So
They,
yeah, I think they're going
yeah,
to win
they
tomorrow, and then
don't.
they're going to win on Thursday. So I'm going to go Detroit in 3. Then I'm going to go down here to
Okay.
Kansas City and Baltimore. Again, Kansas City won today. I think Baltimore. We've talked about them all year long. They've been scuffling. Baltimore is going to come back and win in 3. They'll win 2 straight. So I got Baltimore winning against Kansas City. Now it's to your Metropolitans. They, I feel like I've been watching them all year long just because of the show and also Boomer and Geo. I feel pretty connected with them. I think that Alonso, I didn't see the stats today. I was kind of getting ready. Did Alonso have a pretty good game? Did you have a good game today? I know it was 8-4.
He was all right. He would not be the one that stands out to me today. There
I
was a
gotcha.
couple other guys who were better. Iglesias had a great play, hustle in the first, where I think that the inning would have ended had he not run out this choppy play. There's a couple guys. Alvarez did pretty well. I don't think
Okay.
he was terrible, but he wouldn't have been my first choice for
Okay.
game MVP.
I gotcha. So I'm going to go with the Mets on that one just because of the style of play they've been playing since the All-Star break. I think they
Mm-hmm.
want it more. I think Milwaukee's kind of been cruising for the last week and a half where the Mets have had to play really good ball to get in. So I'm going to think the Mets, I think they're going to win in 3 as well. I think Milwaukee's going to come back and win tomorrow, and you guys will win in 3. And this will be my only sweep of the year in the wild card. I think San Diego is going to sweep the Braves just because the Braves have so many injuries. They just had to play 2 hard games yesterday against you guys, and San Diego's got a really good team. So I'm going to go with the sweep, San Diego 2-0.
Okay, I like it. We're not too far apart on most of these. I think Detroit gets it done as well. 2-1. I think, like you said, Houston's got a lot of postseason experience, some veterans on that team, so I don't think they get swept. But Detroit, much like the Mets, have been super, super hot, man. They're playing great baseball down the
Yep.
stretch, and I think that's going to give them the edge. So I like them 2-1. Obviously, a little advantage because we already know they're up 1-0 as well, and really for the same reasons, KC. I think they get it done. I think they win 2-0. I was on record back in the beginning of this year saying, last year I think the O's surprised people. I figured they'd be, in the conversation again this year, kind of like they are, but I still think they peaked a little too early. So I think they're going to get bounced on the NL side. little homerish, but they're up 1-0, and I like the Mets, and I like them to win the next game as well. I think they're just steamrolling, man. The confidence is flying high. Didn't know if they were going to come out a little sluggish today. They don't play great against the Brewers. They kind of struggled in the last season series that just happened. But they proved that all the travel back and forth, like you mentioned, the doubleheader against the Braves. It wasn't really a factor today. You could see guys like Iglesias still hustling despite the fact that they've had a lot of mileage lately. So I like the Mets to move on. And then Braves and Padres, that's going to be a tough one. I like what you said about the Braves being injury plagued. So I do think San Diego wins. I think San Diego takes it 2-1. So I think we like a lot of the same teams, just maybe some different games.
All right, you want to pick the NL and ALDS, and then I'll do my ALCS, and then we'll go from there?
Yeah, as good as the Tigers have been playing lately, I think Cleveland was very consistent this year. And I just sort of think it's set up possibly for them. And like I talked about with you guys, this is a little foreshadowing of my pick, but I like them over Detroit. And then you guys beating the Royals. I think the Royals are okay to beat the O's, but I don't think they're going to be much of a match for you guys. I like you guys to sweep the Royals. I just don't think they're even in your league.
Okay.
And back to Cleveland over Detroit, I think Cleveland takes that 3-1. So 3-1 and then 3-0 would be my ALDS. And then on the NL side, again, homer pick, man, but we played them well twice. And I think this train is going to continue at least for one more series. I like the Mets. It ain't going to be easy. But I like them to go the distance in 5. I like it 3-2. We'll get the Phillies number. I'll rip the heart out of my buddy Adam Young and hopefully move on. And then kind of like I said about you guys in the AL, I think Padres Dodgers will be a great series, nice divisional matchup. But same thing, I think the Dodgers are just too stacked. And I actually like the Dodgers in that series. I like them 3-1. So that's how my divisional series sets up. What about you?
All right, so I'm going to start up top. I got 2 sweeps in the AL. I got the Cleveland Guardians sweeping the Tigers. I think the Guardians have, like you said, they've been very consistent. They also have the best bullpen left in baseball. They have Emmanuel Clase, who, if it wasn't for Tariq Sobel, he'd win the Cy Young. He had, I want to say, about 40 saves. He only let up about 5 runs in his whole season. Had about a 1.13 ERA. And they got some really good bullpen guys, and their team's been consistent. So I think they sweep the Tigers. Unfortunately, with my Tigers heart, my Tigers run is going to be over. But hey, I picked them, and they went that far, so I'm happy with them. Mm-hmm. And I think the Yankees, man, I think we're just firing on all cylinders. We've talked about it on the show for weeks, how we've been up and down. But the last 2-3 weeks, we've been up. We've been playing, more than 600 ball. We beat Baltimore when we had to clinch the series last week. So I think Baltimore is just going to keep scuffling. I want to call it a sweep. I think it's going to be 3-1, but I'm going to go for a sweep. I just think that the bullpen's playing good. We made the switch to get dumbass Clay Holmes out of the closer spot. We got Luke Weaver closing for us. Garrett Cole's on. Carlos Rendon's on. Clark Smith's back, pitching really good. And the lineup, I mean, how can you beat Judge and Soto? I'll just leave it at that. Yeah. So 2 sweeps in the AL. Okay. Going up top with the Metropolitans and the Phillies. Oof, this one's a tough one for me. Again, I want to go with you. I think that you guys are playing really good ball. I think you win in 5. So I think that's going to be a 3-2 Metropolitans. I just really think that, like I said, again, as I said against Milwaukee, I think they're just really playing really good ball. Their lineup is stacked, balanced, and their pitching is pitching really good. And Diaz, I don't know if you heard what he said yesterday after he blew the save in the first game. He said, I'm going back out there no matter what. I'm getting the ball. I'm getting the win. So, I mean, you got to love that from Diaz. I mean, you saw what he did 2 years ago before tearing his ACL. I mean, he killed it. So I think he's back, and I think they win in 5. And then the Padres and the Dodgers. It was actually a rematch of last year's series, and the Padres actually beat them, if you remember correctly. So I think it's going to be a little bit of revenge. And again, the Dodgers are too stacked. I think they win in 5-2. So 3-2 Dodgers.
Okay. I like it.
And then you want me to do my ALCS and ALCS?
Yeah. Go for it.
All right. So NLCS, I got the Dodgers and the Mets.
Mm-hmm.
Whew, this is going to be a tough one. I think that it's going to be a little too much for the Metropolitans, unfortunately. I'm pulling for them. I think they lose in 6. I think it's going to be 4-2 Dodgers just because of their talent. Shohei Ohtani, Mookie Betts, Freddie Freeman. I think 4-2 Dodgers. This one, I'm going to go like this so you know who I'm going for. And we're going to go Yankees Guardians. I think we beat them in 6. I think Yankees win 4-2, and it's going to be a Yankees Dodgers World Series.
I like it. We great minds think alike. I pretty much mirror you there.
Okay.
As much as I want to root for the Mets, be a little homer, trying to be a little realistic, I think the run might come to an end when they meet up with the Dodgers for all the reasons you mentioned. Dodgers look unstoppable, man. We talked about it. Can't believe it. We talked about this back in March or April doing our picks, and we knew the teams that we thought were going to be the juggernauts, basically, if you will, and they're still alive. A lot of baseball left to be played still, and anything could happen. But it almost looks like destiny is coming and fate. So I think the Dodgers get the Mets number 4-2. And then on the other side, I think you guys get the best of Cleveland as well. And I think it's in 6. I think you guys meet up with the Dodgers. And if I had to pick a
You already
World
know where I'm
Series,
going. You already know where I'm going. So
I think I'll say this. If anybody's listened to the show and paid attention the last couple of weeks, maybe month or two, I said I was going to be pretty happy if I got one of two things: the Mets to make the postseason, or the Sox to break their record for most losses in a season. I got both. So I'm a happy man. I think end of October, you're going to be a happy man. I think the Yanks take the series. I think they take it 4-3. I think it goes the distance. I think it's going to be a dogfight. But I think at the end of the day, Dauber is going to be celebrating first World Series in 15 years.
Yeah. So, you said it better. I got my pitching. I don't mean to repeat myself again, but we got Garrett Cole, Carlos Rondon, Clark Schmidt. We got some really good players. We got a good lineup. Judge, Soto, Torres. I've been saying this for about a month now. We put him in the leadoff spot, and we've been playing really well. And again, we took Holmes out of the closer role, and look what's been happening. He hasn't been blowing any saves. I think our pitching is better right now than the Dodgers. Dodgers are missing Glasnow, who they got from the Rays. Kershaw's been in and out, so he's not 100%. That little Japanese idiot that they got, the little 4-footer, Yoshi Uriyama, he's been on and off the IL. And I just think our pitching's better. I mean, this is a homer pick. This is me probably touching the money, jinxing it. I think we win in 6, and I think we win our first World Series since 2009. And I think that follows with a 15-year contract for Juan Soto for $525 million, if you want to write that down.
Woo. Wow. I am going to write that down. That's a bold prediction, but it's not out of the realm of possibility. I mean, he's going to command a lot, and he's had a season where you could make the argument he's worth it. So be interesting to see at the end of the year if he sticks around with you guys.
15, 525, setting records.
525. I like it. I like it a lot.
So
we're not very different on a lot of our picks. We both got the pinstripers taking it. You got him in 6. I got him in 7. It's been awesome so far. I mean, postseason kicked off today. We got next couple weeks. It's going to be at the forefront. And it's not often football. The NFL takes a backseat, but right now there's some awesome baseball, and it's going to continue. So it's good stuff.
Yeah, I want to pat ourselves on the back. I think we pretty much nailed every single playoff team from beginning of the year and then to our All-Star break. I know I called the Tigers. We called the Astros. I called the Royals at the All-Star break. We both called the Orioles and Yankees. The Braves, I think we were left out because of the injuries, but everybody else, I think we picked it. So we actually did pretty well on picking all the playoff teams in baseball.
Yeah, I'll see if I can dig up the notes from the previous shows, but yeah, I think we've got a pretty good track record right now. So
yeah, because
folks out there,
Yeah,
just pay attention, you know?
your sleeper was the Mets, and my sleeper was the Royals at All-Star break,
Mhm.
which was
Yeah.
pretty impressive. And then I had my sleeper with the Tigers, but yeah, not to repeat myself, but yeah, it's fun stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. We got a lot of football to get to still. You want to jump into some NCAA or you feel like drinking some beer?
Let's drink a beer and then let's do a NCAA.
Sounds good to me. It's Overtime Sports Show. If you're listening live with us, make sure you stay with us. We're going to take a short break and we'll be back in a moment.
Yeah, buddy.
I've had a large amount pass, bus, smile, and a couple beautiful girls tell me goodbye. Trucks break down, dogs run off, politicians lie, been fired by the boss. It takes one hand to count the things I can count on. No, there ain't much man that ain't ever let me down. Long neck, ice cold beer never broke my heart. Like diamond rings and football teams have torn this boy apart. Like a neon dream, it just don't know me. The bars in this guitar. And long neck, ice cold beer never broke my heart.
All
Man,
right. We're
Look at
back.
those new graphics. Somebody got a treat and a
Yeah,
half
you
on
know,
those. Yeah,
50th episode. We thought we'd class up the joint a little bit.
I
Freshen
like
it
that.
up, right?
I like that.
Yeah.
Hell yeah.
Yes, sir. So we're back, and it's everybody's favorite segment, live taste testing. My notes say that you went first last time, so
Yes, sir.
I think the floor is mine.
Yes, sir.
All right. Well, again, if you paid attention, watched, listened to the last couple shows, I've been on record saying I was kind of waiting to get into the month and make it official, but today is 10/1. October is here, so I've got an Oktoberfest beer. This one is from Goliath Brewing Company, and it's actually limited edition. It's a
Whoa.
Oktoberfest lager, if you could see it on the can here.
Oh, that's awesome.
And
Yep.
it's got some kind of a coat of arms or something with the lions, and they're holding what looks like wheat, I think. And there's a little description on the back of this one. It says, "Raise a glass of Oktoberfest in celebration and watch as the light dances off its rich amber color. Enjoy a beautiful bouquet of soft caramel and biscuit before the first sip blankets your palate with malty notes of fresh baked bread." So there's a lot in that sentence or paragraph right there. Caramel, biscuit,
Yeah. Yeah.
malty notes of. I'm most excited about the last notes was fresh baked bread.
Yeah, that sounds cool. Yeah.
Yeah, and also too, this says it's unfiltered beer. Sediment is normal. So I'm curious once I crack this bad boy, what it actually looks like in the can. But this is, again, Goliath Brewing, and it is in Decorah, Iowa, and it is 5.2%.
Nice.
So
I think it's toppling Goliath too. I'm on their website, which is a pretty cool thing. Yeah,
you're right. Yeah, I wasn't quite sure what that meant, but it does say toppling on the top there.
What a cool name! That's a cool name. I'm looking at it right now. Yeah, that looks like a nice little color to it.
Yeah, we'll see exactly what this looks like. Hopefully, that'll pour than last week, and it looks like it is. This one, wow, you can definitely see the caramel color in it.
Wow. Looks exactly like it's on my internet right now. Wow. Nice.
Wow. And I'm really curious to see if there's any kind of sediment in this one. It's a little thick on top, but not as bad as last week. Can you see that color?
Oh yeah. So you want to let's see how good you did. I think you did pretty good. I just want to pull some up on the screen real quick. Sorry to interrupt you.
No, it's definitely. I'm just looking at the color. It's definitely amber, as they said.
So I think you did a pretty good pour. Look at their pour on their website.
Pretty close.
Nice.
Pretty close.
Nice pour.
Not so bad. So let me give it a sip here. I think I'm based on the smell. I can already smell the maltiness. I think that's going to hit me, but I really want to see if I get the bread and caramel. Okay. Definitely the maltiness. That's what I taste the most. It's pretty smooth. This is a good lager. I didn't get hit with really either the caramel or the fresh baked bread. Maybe they're just pretty subtle. I was kind of waiting for it to come at the end. Let me give it one more and see if it comes out. There's a little bit of it at the end, but it's not as, I guess, noticeable as I was initially expecting, but overall, very good. Super, super crisp. Just enough maltiness. Sometimes too much malt I don't always enjoy. It's a little overwhelming, can make lagers seem a little bitter. But this one's great. Very, very smooth, super refreshing. You could have quite a few of these, honestly, if you're a lager, Oktoberfest fan. Again, didn't really quite get all the notes that they were saying, but it's a good beer. Given this a score, it exceeded my expectations. I can't give it the 9s that we've been experiencing lately, but I'm going to go pretty solid 8.5. This was a good beer.
Okay. I like it.
8.5.
So again, to go off of your line to steal it from you, if everybody's been paying attention, last 2 weeks I've been doing some more of like October beers. We had an Oktoberfest. Last week we had a pumpkin ale that was barrel aged that wasn't very pumpkin-y. So I'm going to keep it going. And you're a sucker for can art, so I think you're going to love this bad boy. So I had to try to look at that. It's a pumpkin, and it's called Mashing Gourds, and it's a taproom fall seasonal favorite. Mashing Gourds brown ale imparts pumpkin pie and spice flavors with a silky smooth finish. And this is out of Clearmont, Florida, and the brewery is called Sun Creek Brewing, and it's a 6.3 alcohol by volume. So we're gonna go ahead and check this boy out. Hoping I love that can. Yeah, isn't that can cool? Yeah. So I'm hoping I get more pumpkin than last week, because remember how it was kind of not much pumpkin-y. So
yeah,
we'll go ahead and give this bad boy a whirl. Oh man, that's the pour champions right there, my dude.
Looking good.
Wow, look at the first beer that didn't go to the top.
Yeah. Interesting.
The 12 ouncer. Oh wow. So right off the rip, it smells like fresh pumpkin pie. Oh man. All right, here we go. You ready for it?
Yeah.
Oh wow. That is wow. So I called you from Pittsburgh on Wednesday. I was at Southern Tier Brewing. Remember I told you they have that Pumpkin and Warlock? That was used to be my favorite pumpkin beer. This just moved out right into first place. This is wow.
Really? Favorite pumpkin beer. I like it.
Because Southern Tier is up there. I don't know if you ever had Southern Tier, but Southern Tier is up there. This is Wow. It's worth a 9.0. That's a delicious beer, man.
Okay.
Especially
Nice. Good
for a
score.
pumpkin beer for the beginning of October. I think I chose this right because this one hits. This one pops just as the can. It pops just with that flavor of pumpkin. That's pretty much what you taste in your mouth with the pumpkin going right through it. That's
What was
delicious.
the ABV on that one?
6.3.
6.3. Gotcha. Awesome.
Wow, that's good.
Couple good scores.
Yeah.
Cheers.
Cheers. That's a delicious beer, man. Wow.
Mm-hmm. Good stuff.
Like I said, if you're looking for a pumpkin beer, that's where it's at.
Yeah.
Good stuff. Real good stuff.
Yep. All right. So front half of the show was all baseball, but we got to get into some football now before we hit the NFL. We'll talk a little college like we usually do, and probably steal a little bit of thunder maybe from you. But I got to lead out with the Georgia-Alabama game, man. That was I don't know how else you can describe it other than amazing. I think it was an incredible game. I watched it expecting some fireworks, 2 versus 4 Saturday night. You watched the first bit of it and probably thought like, geez, this was a train wreck and a snooze fest. It was just all Alabama. Honestly, it was looking pretty embarrassing, I think, for Georgia. You got to give it to them, though, the halftime adjustments, especially I think their coach, Smart, probably said some things and really turned it around. It was I can't remember if it was 28-0 at the half, but I think at one point it was 28-0 and
30-7 at halftime. Not to interrupt your
37. Okay, yeah. So it was I think it was 28-0, and then it became 30-7 at the half, and it was looking ugly, but Georgia came steamrolling back. I actually turned off the game for a little bit, turned it back on, saw that they were marching downfield, I think down 12 at the time, scored a touchdown pretty quickly. I can't remember how they got the ball back. Maybe Alabama went 3 and out. And then in one play, Carson Beck sends them downfield for a 67-yard touchdown for the lead. And I couldn't believe it. And I'm like, wow, this place has got to be just losing their minds with the collapse. And Georgia has all the momentum. And there was only like 5-6 minutes left. And Alabama gets the ball back. And then Milroe, who looked great in the game, literally answers Carson Beck in one play of his own for 75 yards. His name's escaping me, but the 17-year-old phenom, I think, they have also looked great. And it was answer for answer, basically. And honestly, I'm not one of the guys who, you see this in the NFL sometimes, players will, instead of getting a touchdown, they'll fall at the 1-yard line to save some clock or something, or run out some clock. I think when any chance you get an opportunity to score, you need to go for it. So I don't fault them for going for it and getting the lead back so quickly, but there was a lot of time left and Georgia started marching down the field again. It looked like Carson Beck was going to have a trick up his sleeve, but he made, in my opinion, what was a little bit of an ill-advised pass in the end zone and a little anticlimactic. He gets picked off and Alabama holds on. But, I mean, what a game that was. Like I said, it looked embarrassing in the beginning, but credit to Georgia. They came back, battled, made it a game. Both quarterbacks I thought looked pretty good. Again, that wide receiver for Alabama just looks incredible. Unfortunately, Georgia's streak comes to an end, but you're looking at 2 really good teams. Georgia, it looks like, slides to the 5th now ranked team, and Alabama jumps all the way to 1. I don't think you can argue with that. I mean, we always say on the show, to be the best, you got to beat the best, Ric Flair, and Alabama did it. So in my eyes, they are probably the best team right now. But heck of a game that was, man. Super, super treat to watch.
Yeah, I mean, 4 weeks into the season, by far, that's the best game of the college football season so far. And the name you're thinking of is Ryan Williams, the 17-year-old freshman. And you touched on it, but just watching that game, I mean, 30-7 at halftime, you think it's going to be a laugher. And then, like you described, Georgia scores on a 65-yard touchdown. And then not even a minute later, they score on a 75-yard touchdown, get the 2-point conversion, and go up by 7, and obviously win the game. And the crazy stat is, last week we were talking about it. I don't know if you remember, but I took Bama, and Bama was actually getting +1.5 at home, which was the shocker of all shockers, because I think we talked about it last week on the show. I mean, SEC football at night, on the road is a different ballpark. So, I mean, I was right all over Bama, and I just want to read you off Milroe's stats. So he was 27 to 33, 374 yards, 2 touchdowns, 1 interception, and he had 16 carries for 117 yards and 2 touchdowns. So that was pretty incredible. I mean, that's Heisman numbers right there. So it was definitely one of the best games so far of the football season. And you know, it was very, very exciting to watch. I actually watched it out in Cleveland on Saturday night, so I was able to watch it with some local Cleveland Indian, whatever you want to call them, Cleveland Landers or something, however you want to. Yeah. So, but it was a very, very fun game. And you know where I'm going next.
I was going to lead into that. I was going to ask you, and you didn't even have to wait for me to ask. So go ahead and hit me with the Irish. I mean, I feel like you should be in a good mood, but I don't know.
I'm in a good mood. I'm just still frustrated, man. I mean, I know this is going on 3 straight weeks. If we win against the MAC team, I know it's like a broken record. We're undefeated right now. We're probably number 2 in the nation, right behind Alabama. However, you know, we wore the green jerseys. I don't know if you watched it, but we pulled out the green jerseys. Irish wear green was the headline. I mean, we looked pretty good. Started off 21-7 in the first quarter. Had some really good plays. Had some turnovers. They started coming back, but I mean, a win's a win. I mean, they were undefeated. I believe we moved up to 13, if I'm not mistaken. I mean, I still think you've heard me here again. 14. I'm not ready to say it. If we win out, we make the playoffs, but crazier things have happened, and you just got to play the schedule that you have. I mean, the hardest game left that we have probably is going to be USC end of the year. However, they lost to Michigan last week, so they're not undefeated anymore. But, you know, we're just playing really good. It was finally good to see the offense look good because that was Riley Leonard's first pass touchdown of the year. So that was kind of exciting. He had a pretty good team. He actually had 2 touchdowns. I mean, 17 to 23, 163 yards and 2 touchdowns. And he also had a rushing touchdown. So those were his first 2 passing touchdowns of the year. So that's kind of exciting because that means that the offense is kind of starting to get back in rhythm, as they would say. So it's it's kind of exciting, but I'm not ready to, you know, like I said, not ready to put everything back in there because crazier things have happened and Notre Dame loves to, you know what, me. They like to blank me, and that's Notre Dame football for you. But hey, a win's a win, and we beat an undefeated team. And you know,
a win is a win. But I do have to disagree with one thing you said.
Oh boy!
If you don't lose that first game, you think you're number 2?
100%. 100%.
No. You think you're going to be above Texas, above Ohio State, even above Georgia? No.
Yes.
I don't know. I don't think so.
Nope.
Love you guys. Love you, your team.
Okay.
I always root for you, but I don't know. I don't think you're that high.
Hey,
but I do got something. I don't know if you can look up the rankings. I think there's a mistake. I'm looking at next week's matchups, and I see Syracuse versus number 25 UNLV, and then I see Missouri number 9 against also number 25 Texas A&M. Yep. So I'm seeing 2 teams ranked at number 25. How's that?
They do that sometimes. I don't really know how to describe it, but sometimes they do that. They've done it in years past. It's just they get the same amount of votes, the same amount of points. So, like I'm looking right here at the AP Top 25, and they both have 122 points, and that's why they're tied for 25th. I know it doesn't make any sense, but it's just like you with your college football bowl games. It's just something that college football does, and you just got to.
There are a lot of stupid rules in college sports. I'll tell you. It's
the crazy stat about UNLV? I don't know if you heard this, but their quarterback led them to a 3-0 record. He was a pretty good quarterback. It's about that NIL stuff. He was told he was going to get $100,000, and the deal fell through. And he actually left the team and is now in the transfer portal, and he's no longer on the team anymore as their starting quarterback.
Got it.
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Crazy stat. Yeah. So it's all about the new NIL stuff that's going on the last couple of years. I explained it last year, but he went to UNLV. It'd be like Greg Gross Insurance said that you'd give him $100,000 to come at UNLV. His agent or I guess guardian or whatever said, "Yep, we'll take it." It was kind of a handshake deal. He went to go to UNLV and it fell through. And he pretty much said that you didn't give me $100,000, so I'm leaving, which makes sense. I mean, you're it makes sense on both ends, but it's just weird how that all came through.
Yeah. So you brought up something that I got a question for you now, and I don't want to put you on the spot. I want to see if you know, or just even get your thoughts on it, because it might not be, we may not know the answer, but this kind of came up this past weekend, thinking about Milroe and how good he's looked, and even the really the young kid mostly, being that in the NFL, guys get picked up off the street all the time, right? Like especially like kickers, you see guys just get signed off their couch. Even like Joe Flacco last year was sitting on his couch, gets picked up. What is to stop a team or a player like a Milroe or the young 17-year-old receiver from not going through the draft and just signing with a team in the NFL tomorrow? There's no rule that says you have to go through the draft, right? I mean, it's an odd question, but it got me thinking, like, is there something in the rules that says players need to go through the draft? I don't think there is, because guys go undrafted all the time and get picked up, and they're walk-ons. So what is to stop these guys or a team from being like, you know what, hey, Milroe, come on, come play for us? I mean, do you know the rules on that?
Well, I know there is one rule. You have to be 3 years removed from high school. So you can't be a true freshman. You have to be at least a junior. So either a redshirt sophomore or a true junior. So you got to be 3 years removed, and you can't do it. And you got to go through, I don't know if there's a rule, but there is a rule. You can't just leave college football in the middle of college football and go straight to the NFL. It's, that's a great question, but there's a rule in there. I mean,
okay. I figured there probably is. I just didn't know the answer. Maybe we look it up and revisit it another show. It came up because of how good these guys are doing, really how bad the Giants are. And, we're like, man, we could use a couple of these players. What's to stop them or any team from, trying to pick some of these guys up at any point? I guess it is kind of silly, because that really would circumvent the draft, and having an order, where the last place team or wins the lottery and gets the number one pick and all that, and then the team who wins the Super Bowl gets the last pick. I mean, that would circumvent the entire process. I just didn't know the rules behind it. So,
so I have some of it. It just kind of says it right here. There's the 3 years out of high school to be eligible. Players must use up their college eligibility before the next season begins. Underclassmen who haven't used all their college eligibility can request an early entry, but the league must approve. So that's probably what it is. They have to approve it, and they're not going to approve it when the season's not over. So I think it goes with the eligibility. They must use up their college eligibility before the next season begins.
So guys have to go to college then too. I mean, what about the guys who don't play college ball, but they go to like the USFL or something like that? Like that's the other part.
Still got to be for the NFL. You still got to be eligible. You got to be 3 years from high school. So no matter what you do, if you go to Europe or you go to USFL, you go to the XFL, you got to be 3 years out of high school. That's pretty much what the guidelines are. And I'm just trying to see.
Interesting.
Yeah,
I didn't want to derail it too much, but I wanted to ask it because I'm like, I don't know if the answer.
All right, so here it is. If a player is not selected in the draft where he's eligible, he could be signed as a free agent unless he is subsequently attends college and participates in college football. So technically, if you play a college football season, that season's got to be over, and then you can enter the draft. So you can't do what you're saying, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, no, it does. And thanks for clearing that up. I was wondering, I'm like, I don't know what the rules are for that, but figured there was one. That makes sense.
Yeah. So it's just maybe that 3 years out of high school, and then you can kind of do whatever you got to do.
Yeah. Yep. So, 5 weeks into the college season, and already a couple really good games. I think as a whole, still relatively early. We're not past the halfway point yet, but I think the season's kind of turned out in terms of the top 12. I think the rankings are still. You mentioned our baseball picks earlier and the fact that we've been pretty accurate. I think our picks are still relatively on track as well.
Besides Florida State. So any Florida State fans out there,
Florida State was a major bomb for me.
Yep.
I had them winning their conference. It was probably a major bomb for everybody. I don't think anybody expected them to be as horrendous as they've been so far. Yep. But other than that, I mean, I think things are pretty much the way they were. I mean, Miami is 8 right now. I think a lot of people, maybe you might have one of them thought Michigan was going to fall a little bit, but they're still hanging in there at number 10. I thought you guys would stay in the top 12. You're 14 right now because that lost, but you're not out of it. All the other teams, I mean, Penn State's up there.
Yep.
I said Miami. Oh, LSU was my dark horse pick, and they are on the bubble, man. They're 13 right now, so pretty good so far. I think you and I both in terms of the teams we thought would be in the top 12.
Yeah, there's not many good games this weekend coming up, but I guess the best game would probably be Missouri at Texas A&M. Missouri was my dark horse this year. I figured they're going to have a really good team with, again, as I mentioned last week and the week before, Luther Burden, a really good wide receiver, and Brady Cook, who's a really good quarterback. I think that's the best game of the week. And right now, they're getting 2 points on the road at Texas A&M. I think Missouri is going to win that game, and I think that's going to be the best game of the week. What do you think? I mean, there's not many ranked games.
I like one game that stands out to me, and you might completely disagree, but there always seem to be a feisty team, and they're at home. I'm not saying they're going to win, but I think it's good. They can give them a run for their money. I like the Razorbacks against Tennessee. Number 4 against an unranked team. I think Arkansas, I think they can mix it up a little bit. Maybe they go in there and steal a win, probably a close game, 27-24, something like that. Again, not saying it's going to happen, but if I had to pick a game on the schedule that says, you know what, that one's got the makings of an upset, I like that game.
Well, Arkansas is at home. And again, as I told you last week and this week, SEC football on the road at night is a different beast. So
there you go.
I don't disagree with you there, but Tennessee does look good. They do look really good. They just killed Oklahoma last week on the road in Oklahoma. But again, SEC football at night it's a different beast, a different animal. So that's it's going to be interesting. And look at the surprise right there. The biggest surprise for me again, Indiana's 5-0. I did not pick them to do very well. They beat Nebraska last week, and they're 5-0, which is a very big surprise for Indiana. They're usually not very good, but they're playing really well right now.
Who do they have this week?
Northwestern.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
3:30.
Yeah.
So we'll see about that, and then it's going to be very interesting too about Penn State and UCLA. UCLA is playing Penn State at 12 o'clock in Happy Valley. That means that UCLA is playing at 9 o'clock on Pacific time. So they're traveling across country to go to Penn State, which is a pretty hard place to play. And at 12 o'clock, that's kind of like a slap in the face.
Penn State could break the record that they just broke. Maybe they'll get 800 yards in a game.
Yeah. I mean, they look good. They haven't played anybody yet, but they look good.
Yeah, they do. So it's been a good season so far, and we got a couple games on the schedule this weekend to pay attention to. But I think we turn the page to some pro action right now.
Yeah.
Some pretty good games this weekend. Couple surprises. I don't know. Maybe we just I got some thoughts on my team. Maybe we spend a few minutes on the games last week. We mentioned it last week, you know, what we know about the NFL season so far, and it's not much. And we're 4 weeks in, and I still can't say I've got a firm grasp of it. The Lions-Seahawks game was pretty entertaining last night.
Yep.
Back and forth. Both teams now 3-1. Kind of figured the Lions would win at home, but Seahawks gave them a run for their money. I don't know how Geno Smith is playing as well as he is. DK Metcalf's having a pretty good season. You know, the Seahawks 2 running backs, they finally got Kenneth Walker back. They look pretty dangerous, but Charbonnet or whoever you say his name was a pretty good fill-in. On the other side of things, you had the Titans-Dolphins game. That was kind of a snoozer, I think, for a large part. The Dolphins just look like a complete mess. I thought they'd be a little bit better with Huntley coming in. But the Titans kind of won that game handily, and they had someone else come in. Will Levis, I think, got hurt or something, and who took over for him? Do you remember who it was?
Mason Rudolph.
Exactly. Yeah. So they said it was a rematch from, I guess, last year. I don't remember him playing Huntley when it was Steelers-Ravens, and both Lamar and whoever Pittsburgh had at the time.
Kenny Pickett.
Yeah.
And then Mitch Trubisky, so there's third stringer,
Yeah. So those are, I mean, I guess interesting games, but I still can't put my thumb on some of the things that are going on around the league. I mean, the Chiefs, another game against the Chargers. They were on the road. They squeaked out another win. We said this last year about them, or at least I did. They didn't look quite the same throughout the regular season, but then come playoff time, they woke up and
Yep.
they won back-to-back Super Bowls, and now they're going for a three-peat. Kind of looks like the same. I mean, Rashee Rice now seems like he's probably done for the season. That's a pretty big blow. Obviously, Pacheco's out, so they're just riddled with injuries. But Travis Kelce's kind of been on a milk carton. Even Mahomes himself doesn't seem as dynamic. They've got a great defensive coordinator over there, a great head coach, and you can never discount Mahomes. So,
Nope.
Chiefs don't look the same, but 4-0 is 4-0. Just up and down the entire week. I'll give you the floor to pick on some games, but here's another game. One more I got. The Eagles Buccaneers. I'm sure you probably saw some of that game. The Eagles look like an absolute mess right now. We got friends of the show. Adam Young is just beside himself with Nick Sirianni at coach. He actually went to the game, spent a lot of his hard-earned money just to see a blowout. I'm sorry, not sorry for the guy. It always brings a smile on my face to see a division rival get the doors blown off him. But that's a surprise to me. I mean, not taking nothing away from the Bucs, but the Bucs lose the week before to Denver, and it really wasn't even that close. And then they come back home and they beat the Eagles. And like I said, the Eagles just look like a mess to me. This goes back to last year. We talked about it where they lost like 9 or 10 in a row. But it's just another example this year where there's not a lot of predictability. I mean, you're in the suicide pool that we do, and that came to a wrap this past weekend. Came down to two guys, and they both decided to chop it, split the money, and that's because this season has been crazy. I mean, 4 weeks in, suicide pools are already pretty much over. Because it's just been crazy. So I'm sure you got some thoughts on some games, but I just wanted to call out a couple of them because they've just been nuts.
Yeah, I wanted to start with the one that you called out too, the Chiefs. I mean, they're 4-0, but again, you touched on it, Rashee Rice. He's on my fantasy team. Unfortunately, he's probably going to be out for the year. So it's going to be very interesting to see what they do. They got Juju. They have Xavier Worthy. Travis Kelce finally had a good game. He had 7 receptions for 89 yards. So it's going to be very interesting to see where they go without Rice, because they were saying that Kelce was getting double teamed, maybe triple teamed, and that's why Rice has been having such a good year. But with him being out for the year, it's going to be interesting to see where they go. Another game that I wanted to reach out was the Ravens. I mean, they absolutely killed the Bills. I mean, 35-10. When they're playing like that, I think they're the best team in football. And we did our Super Bowl picks, and I believe, I picked them to win the Super Bowl with them. I mean, when they're playing like that, 24 carries, 199 yards for Derrick Henry, and 35-10, killing the Bills. I mean, they absolutely looked really, really good. Another team that I actually said as a sleeper would be the Commanders, and they won 42-14 on the road at the Cardinals. That's pretty impressive. It
is.
Yeah.
How about a fan of the Giants NFC East rival for the Commanders? I just got to pause and say, bravo to Washington. I mean, they are a team usually as bad as this says a lot coming from a Giants fan, as piss poor as they've been for the last decade. Usually Washington is kind of the laughing stock of the division. It's always hard to take them serious because, this is why the week 2 loss was kind of shocking and hurtful, because as bad as we are, we always seem to beat them. And I thought we were going to beat them again this week or this year. But they look like the real deal. Jaden Daniels looks good. Robinson looks pretty good at running back, but he doesn't have a lot of weapons in the passing game, but he's playing good football. He's not turning the ball over. So I just got to give a shout out to Washington, man. Who would have thought that they were going to be leading the NFC East after 4 weeks in the season? Yeah, I sure as hell didn't.
I didn't either. I mean, I knew they'd have a good year. I thought they'd have I thought they'd have a better year than last year. I mean, they only won 2 or 3 games, so it's kind of easy to say that. But I had a feeling they were going to play good with my boy Jaden Daniels. But going off of that, another game I wanted to reach out was the Vikings. I mean, look what Sammy D is doing with the Vikings. Sam Darnold. I mean, they're 4-0. I mean, they had that game wrapped up, besides for a couple late touchdowns from the Packers to make it a 2-point game. But they look really good. That combination of Sam Darnold and Justin Jefferson. I mean, they're really playing well. Aaron Jones is having a good year, signed away from the Packers. So that was kind of like a revenge game, beating in Lambeau. So that was, a couple games that I wanted to point out. Also, I got some pretty cool stats that I found, 5 stats that I wanted to go out that were some history that was going on. So the first stat, your boy Jamar Chase, my boy Jamar Chase, He has his 9th career 60-plus yard receiving touchdown, and it ties him for the most before turning 25, which is pretty impressive.
Wow. Yeah.
And another one was I wanted to touch on Jaden Daniels. So he has an 82.1 completion percentage. It's the highest mark in any 4-game span in a player's career since 1950. And he broke Hall of Famers Peyton Manning's 81.8 completion record. So he's having a hell of a year. Barely any incompletions. I mean, 82.1. I touched on it last week. He had a 93% completion rating last week when they played on Monday night against the Bengals. So pretty impressive. Third stat was the Vikings. They had the largest lead in Lambeau of 28-0 since December of 1973. So, yeah, that's what I was saying. The Vikings let it get away a little bit. And Sam Darnold became the first quarterback in the Super Bowl era to win his first 4 games with the new team and throw multiple touchdowns in each of them. So his 11 touchdowns are 3 more than any other player through 4 games. So he's leading the league in touchdowns.
Yeah, I mean, and just another thing, going back to what I mentioned, and you're doubling down on it, just who would have predicted that? I mean, I didn't. We talked about, just the shuffle of players. I think a lot of people thought the Vikings were going to take a step down, losing Cousins, but Darnold stepped in. They lost. I guess they gained, Jones at running back, who looks like he stepped in pretty well. But I didn't expect that at all. I really thought they were going to be at the bottom of that pretty competitive division. And it's still obviously a lot of football left to play. All the teams look very, very good in that division. Even the Bears, they got a rookie quarterback of their own, but it's been wild. I got one stat for you. It came through from last night. I'm sure you probably saw it, but your boy Jared Goff catching a touchdown pass from Amon-Ra St. Brown.
Yep.
And because of that, Jared Goff now has more receiving touchdowns than Travis Kelce, Mark Andrews, Sam Laporta, Brandon Ayuk, and Jalen Waddle. So 3 tight ends, 2 receivers on that list, all making, big money. Yep. And they all have 0 touchdowns on the year. And Jared Goff now has a receiving touchdown. So, makes sense of that. You'll be here for a long time. It just, it doesn't. But, I mean, that's what makes football fun, man. Any given Sunday, as they always say. And it's been kind of topsy-turvy a little bit. But,
also,
good start.
He was also 18 for 18, if you didn't see that either.
I did see that, and I think I was trying to figure out if it was a Lions record, but I think it was an NFL record, the most passes to be perfect in the game, I think.
Didn't pop up here.
I saw it.
Okay.
And I wasn't sure if it was an NFL record, but or just a Lions record, but I think it was an NFL record. I mean, sometimes guys go, 10 for 10, 12 for 12. You think back in the day, like when there's those snow games and they're never passing, they're just running the ball all the time. Guys might be perfect, but to throw that many passes and not have a single incompletion or interception, I think it was an NFL record. I'm
there you go.
Sure.
18 of 18. Holds the NFL record for most completions and a win 100% completion rate.
Yeah.
So his perfect game, crazy. Kurt Warner was 10 for 10 with Arizona, so he's 18 for 18. So that was the record. Wait,
the next closest was 10 for 10? No.
Yep.
Really?
Yeah, the only ever player to throw double-digit completions without an incompletion was Kurt Warner, who was 10 for 10 with Arizona on December 18, 2005.
Wow. He shattered the record then.
Yeah. I had one more cool
there's
stat.
Probably been other guys who finished like 15 for 16, more completions, but not a perfect game, basically, so – You see what I'm saying? Like maybe there was a guy who went 22 of 24 or something, but 10 of 10 and 18 of 18. Wow. You said you had some more?
I got a couple more stats that I thought were kind of cool. So in the win with Bo Nix for the Broncos, he only had 60 yards passing, and he's the first time to throw 25 times for 60 yards, became the first quarterback in the Super Bowl era to average fewer than 2.5 yards per passing attempt, which is pretty wild, and they still won. And the last one that I have is about Derrick Henry. So Henry is the 7th rushing touchdown of 70-plus yards in his career, tying Adrian Peterson and Chris Johnson for the most such touchdowns in NFL history.
Wow.
So,
that's good company right there.
Pretty crazy, huh?
Yeah, it is. It is. Yeah, it's been interesting. Before we maybe get to predictions or something, I wanted to spend just a couple minutes on the Giants. Obviously, they had the Thursday game last week, played the Cowboys. Didn't expect them to win, but I guess expected them to be competitive, and you could say that they were. I mean, it wasn't a blowout, which I thought it could be. The Cowboys just always seem to have our number, especially in our stadium. It's been pretty bad the last few years, but they kept it competitive, but. I got to say, I mean, the takeaway just continues to be that on offense, they're boring. They're boring and they are non-threatening. Jones has been taking care of the football, which I guess is a positive. He's not, in my opinion, the reason they're necessarily losing, but he's the reason they're not winning, if that makes sense. He's not turning the ball over, but he's just not – he's boring and he's non-threatening. I mean, these short passes, you've got a receiver who's super, super special, but they just don't ever stretch the field. I mean, cornerbacks and safeties for the opposing team just have to be taking naps and reading books back there because they're not doing anything. They don't throw the ball downfield and make it challenging. You gotta, and that's a direct correlation to the running game. I think if you saw this stat, I don't know if it was the Giants as a whole, which probably mostly Singletary, 22 carries for 24 yards or 24 carries for 26 yards, I think.
Yeah, there it is right there. Yep.
That's embarrassing. I mean, that is straight up embarrassing. And that's, I think, a direct correlation to the passing game or lack thereof. I mean, you're one-dimensional. Teams are going to stack the box on you and shut down the running game because they know you're just not throwing the ball deep. And to me, it's an indictment of Jones and also the signal callers. I think Daboll has taken over the offensive play calling to a degree. So I think there's shared blame to go around with the Giants. And it's boring. I mean, they go into Seattle next week. I don't see how anybody expects them to win and maybe not even be competitive. I mean, that's a tough place to play. We talked about it earlier. Geno Smith and Metcalf looks pretty good. They got that other guy, Smith Najiba, I think, who also looks pretty good, right?
Yeah, he's a speedster. He's really quick.
Yeah, so Seattle has some pretty good threatening players, and that's the Giants' weakness. Their defense, I think, is what's keeping them in games. I mean, they only gave up 20 points to the Cowboys, and Dak and CeeDee Lamb have looked pretty good, so far this season on offense. So the fact that they kept them in check, I think, is a testament to their defensive line. But their weakness is their secondary, and they could get exposed this weekend against Seattle. So Giants fan here, trying to find things to be optimistic about. Season's not over. We just talked about it. Washington's leading the division at 3-1. Giants are 1-3. So are they out of it already? No, not at all. But no. I mean, are they giving me any kind of reason to believe that they can win the division? No, not at all. I mean, so there you have it.
Yeah, you hit it on the nail. So you got the stats. What we did last week, I think. I don't know if we had a good week. I might have been 1-1. I think.
I do got the stats. We had a better week. We as we usually do. We were 2-2 last week. We both went 1-1 this week, so we tied 3-3. I had my lock, Houston -7. Again, the theme of the week is we just don't know anything about the NFL. It doesn't make sense. I thought that they were going to steamroll the Jags, and they barely won on a last-second field goal, I think. So don't know how that one wasn't just a slam dunk, but they let me down. But I did get Minnesota. I mean, this should have been the obvious play of the century. I don't understand how Minnesota was getting points. That was my quote-unquote upset. I guess because Love was back. They were in Lambeau, but they did come through. Didn't need the points. They won outright. So I'm 3-3. You, on the other hand, you had Pittsburgh as the lock. It looks like I think they lost to Indy, right?
Yep.
So it was a close game, but just on the wrong side of that one. And your upset, which again didn't need the points. Tennessee ended up beating Miami yesterday. So we both got our upsets, and maybe that's because they shouldn't have been upsets. I don't know what Vegas is doing. They're usually pretty good, but you could have put some money on those games and made something. So we are 3-3 now each. I will give you the floor if you want to give a lock or an upset.
You got your thing. You should know I'm going to go for an upset.
You probably Go ahead. You're
All right.
going first, so you get to take it.
Indianapolis Colts +3 against the winless, defeated, fill in the blank, Jacksonville Jaguars.
Yeah. Let me see.
What was our acronym a couple weeks ago? Just the Jaguars or something? What was it? JTG or something?
Just the Jaguars, I think is what it was. Yeah. JTJ.
Yeah, JTJ. Yep.
Jaguars. You've got Indy +3. Yeah, that's a good one. I had my eye on that, so that's the upset for you.
Not a cool thing they're doing. I mean, not that it matters, but they are doing their throwback jerseys from 1995. So they're wearing their old logo and their old uniforms, and it's at home. But I mean, they're still going to lose. Just to say.
Yeah, you're right. They're at home. It's a divisional game. I always think divisional games in the NFL are always tough. Like that's one league where rivalries seem to be. You take it up a notch. But I can't see a world where the Jags win that game. They look bad. And it's surprising. I mean, they beat Pittsburgh. And was it in Pittsburgh?
No, it was in Indianapolis.
It was Indianapolis. Okay. I agree with you there. My upset, I was looking at one here. This is an interesting one. This could come back to bite me a little bit, but I think I was going to go probably with the Colts. There was a couple others that caught my eye. Let me just make sure I'm not missing an obvious one here. I'm going to go ahead and go with this one. I'm going to go with the Bucks +1.5.
Yeah, that's surprising that they're getting +1.5. Wow.
Yeah, they had a stinker against the Broncos, but the Broncos look like a somewhat decent team. And divisional game, I think the Bucks will keep it close, and I think they have a legitimate chance to win. I mean, look what they just did to the Eagles. They decimated them. So it'll be tough going into Atlanta. Atlanta looks better than I thought they would be, but I think the Bucks have a legit shot to win that one. So you want to give me your lock now?
Yeah, I'm torn between 3 games. I'm going to do it, though. I'm going to go Steelers -2.5.
Steelers -2. Let me see if that's what I got. I do have the same. Steelers over the Cowboys -2.5. Okay.
You want to know my other 2 games that I was torn between, or you want to do your locks first?
Yeah, let me get mine out of the way. Make sure influence me or take something from me.
I got you.
But this is I got a couple here, and I think I might steal one from you that you were going to mention. I want to go Bears over Panthers -3.5. Doesn't seem like enough points. This is another one. No, you know what? There's 2 games. I'm going to steal your thunder for a minute. That was one I was thinking Bears, but I don't love the Bears enough right now. I was also thinking Washington and Cleveland. Washington at home looks like it could be, but I'm not going to go either of those. I'm going to go divisional game. I hope I don't go back to eat this, but I'm going to go Ravens over Bengals -2.5.
I like that. So, the 2 that I was thinking of was the Commanders at home and the Chiefs at home.
Okay.
And I'm trying to figure out what this is. Did you see? I just realized this. They're not called FedEx Field anymore. It's called Northwest Stadium, which is a federal credit union. I was trying to figure that out. I just did some research for where the Commanders play. Remember, it used to be called FedEx Field?
Yeah.
Now it's called Northwest Stadium. Really, I don't know. It was just something that blew out on me. I'd never heard that before. But those
all
are
about the money.
all about the money. So those are the 2 that I was thinking. But I think we got some good football coming up, and we got the first week of buys too, which is interesting. Is this the earliest that I don't remember being this early? Do you?
I think it's week 5. I think that has been earlier. I think honestly, I think there was one year. I don't know if it was week 3, but I think definitely week 4. There's been some buys.
Okay.
So coming into week 5, I don't think this is the earliest. But yeah, I mean, you got to have your fantasy teams prepped. San Diego is on a bye. And who else? The Bills?
No, Philadelphia, Tennessee, and Detroit.
Philadelphia. 4 teams: Philadelphia, Tennessee, Detroit, and San Diego.
Los Angeles, whatever. Same difference.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, good stuff. Couple good games on the schedule. We'll be right back at it again in a week, wrapping it all up, and definitely covering some baseball. But we always say, man, good time to be a sports fan. I don't think there's ever a bad time to be a sports fan.
Never a bad time, no. And I can't believe we did it. I know we kind of mentioned at the beginning of the show, but 50 episodes and a year later, that's quite an accomplishment. I think we're doing a good thing here. I know I'm having fun. I know you're having fun, but I think that's a pretty cool accomplishment. 50 on the year anniversary. That's kind of cool.
50, man. Here's to 50 more. Before we sign off, I wanted to mention it's amazing. I think we got a little bit until basketball comes, maybe 2 weeks, but the NHL season kicks off on Friday. So we have my Devils playing the Stadium Series. They're doing a back-to-back with the Sabres. They're going to be in the Czech Republic. So it's one of those weird things. They're broadening the game a bit. But technically, the regular season starts on Friday, and then they run it back on Saturday. So a couple early games. I don't love that they do this where technically the regular season, they'll be starting on Friday, Saturday, and then after that, everyone else is still going to be playing preseason games. I hate that, but it is what it is. And then the rest of the league will start their regular season next week. But comes up quick, man. Hockey is coming in a couple days, and then basketball will be soon to follow. So we'll be jumping back into that stuff, as amazing as it sounds, and probably doing some predictions. But yeah, cool. For now, football and baseball heavy. It's been another good show. Appreciate everybody.
Keep going. Sorry to interrupt you, but I did see something last night, actually, that you brought up hockey. Did you see that Jeremy Brodeur was in goal last night for the Devils? I thought that was pretty cool.
I did, man. How special is that? It was pretty cool. They did it against the Rangers, which is great, a rivalry team. I grew up watching Brodeur when he was in his heyday. I remember when he had his kids, when they were first born. It was 27 years ago. I was young at the time, but he got his kids' names put on the back of his mask as they were born. He did a thing where he always kissed the back of it for good luck before every game. His son Jeremy, I remember when this was 10 years ago or so, he was 18 or so, getting drafted and coming up through the ranks. And, it's tough to live in the shadows of your father when he's one of the greatest players, guys like, LeBron James and, all these other star athletes. When they have kids, you always wonder, can they live with the hype? And most often the answer is no. It's hard to, have someone who is the greatest, debatable at what they did and then try to live up to that, but it's just a cool thing where, a guy like Brodeur is still involved with the organization. He's like a senior VP of hockey ops, and now his son's with the organization. And it was, cool. I don't know if it was 10 years to the day, but it was 10 years ago. So pretty cool.
Yeah. And then now you got me on hockey. So actually a week from today, the Blues and the Kraken play at 4:30 on a Tuesday. That means it's at 1:30 on a Tuesday in Seattle, Washington, which is kind of funky. And then they raised the cup. They raised the banner a week from today in Florida against the Bruins, which is kind of cool. And then Utah also has their first ever hockey game at 10 o'clock against the Blackhawks. So we'll be doing some hockey preview and NFL and MLB and NCAA. So we're gonna be rocking, man.
We are going to be rocking. Shout out to our friend Chris Dolan. We'll have to bring him back, maybe in a couple weeks or whenever it is, and talk a little hockey and see what he thinks about the upcoming season. They try to run it back, but we will be running it back a week from today, as we always do. Appreciate everybody for listening for the past year. 50 episodes has been awesome.
We appreciate it.
We're not going anywhere. This is great. We hope to continue to grow this thing. But until then, great rest of your evening. See you in a week or so.
Everybody come see the greatest show. Gather up all juggalos and roll. Come on. Everybody come see the greatest show. Gather up all juggalos and roll. Everybody come